Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a pretty incredible, almost invisible mystery. What actually happens out in your yard the very second you leave for a trip? It's easy to wonder what goes on when you aren't there to fill the feeder. But buckle up, because the reality is way more fascinating and honestly, a lot more complex than you might think. You might think they just, eat whatever food is left in the feeder and immediately move on to the next yard. But the truth? Your birds actually noticed you were gone before you even closed your car door. It's really not about the seed running empty, and they absolutely aren't just running on some kind of pure survival autopilot. Instead, they execute a highly precise sequence of behaviors that are built entirely around your specific absence.
So to truly understand this, we're going to track the chronological journey of your absence. This timeline reveals exactly how birds adjust their entire territory when the human variable, meaning you, is removed from the equation. We'll look at that first hour, the first couple of days, a week out, and then the long-term implications of your empty house.
Let's dive right into part one, the first morning without you, and how that rhythm breaks. See, birds don't have clocks. They have you. Your morning routine is literally mapped into their daily schedule. It's the broken rhythm that tips them off. The kitchen light that didn't flip on at 6 a.m., the back door that stayed shut, the shape at the window that's suddenly just missing. Actually, research from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology shows that within the first hour of sunrise, chickadees and other birds notice this routine is broken, but they don't abandon the yard right away. Instead, they cycle past the feeder, perch on nearby branches, and actively check the area just to see if maybe you're running a little late. But then we move into the second phase. The visit pattern totally collapses. Look at this massive drop. By the second and third day, visits to your feeder drop by more than 50%. And here is the absolute kicker. This dramatic decrease happens even if your feeder is still completely full of seed. No way, right? So why the mass exodus from a totally full feeder? Well, the birds haven't forgotten where it is. Rather, a bird like a chickadee updates her internal map. To her, 2 consecutive failures of your routine equals a demoted resource. You see, you were a high-value, predictable, time-stamped resource in their day. When you aren't there to validate it, your specific node in their territory just goes quiet, and they safely downgrade you to a backup option. The yard itself is actually still full of birds using the trees and the water sources, but your specific spot gets eerily quiet because they've essentially routed around it. Which brings us to the third point, and honestly, the most mind-blowing part of all this. They remember you, not your feeder. Research by Dr. John Marzaloff out at the University of Washington proves that these backyard birds, we're talking especially corvids, chickadees, and titmice, don't just remember the location of the free lunch, they are fully capable of recognizing specific human faces. And seeing your face triggers a region in their brain completely dedicated to long-term social memory. So they have a specific biological file, essentially, just for you, totally independent of the food itself. And this brilliantly illustrates that the bird at your window isn't just waiting for a generic source of seeds. She's actively checking the yard against the very specific visual profile she built of you. I mean, she remembers the exact angle of your shadow as you step onto the porch, the rhythmic motion of your hand when you scoop the food, even the sound of your voice. She's keeping your file open, cross-referencing it against literally every single human shape that crosses the yard. So, what happens in phase 4 when that absence stretches into a week or more? Well, the yard dramatically reorganizes itself. The dominant birds, the big guys who aggressively controlled the feeder when you were around, they realize the resource is totally unreliable now, so they just bounce. They leave for the neighbors' yards or natural food. But a much quieter, kind of hidden pattern emerges among the individuals who knew your routine the best. They're the absolute slowest to leave. They don't even feed. They just stubbornly perch right there on their usual branch and watch your back door. Just waiting. Ornithologists actually have a scientific term for this waiting behavior: expectancy maintenance. This means the bird isn't just passively remembering. She is actively allocating vital biological energy to the possibility that you, her specific resource, are going to return. Paying this energetic cost, literally burning calories just to sit and wait, proves just how deeply your specific presence is encoded in her brain. Now for the fun part, phase 5, the sudden recognition response when you finally come home. They don't instantly recognize your face from a mile down the street, right? Instead, they recognize this precise sequence of motion and sound that your routine produces. Step 1, boom, the kitchen light turns on at the correct morning hour. Step 2, the back door opens with that very specific squeak or click it always makes. And step 3, The shape of you walks across the porch at that uniquely known angle.
When all those signals perfectly align, the old residents fire what is documented as a recognition response. It is a sudden, massive spike in activity. They perch way closer to the house than they have in Ds, and some even emit these low-frequency vocalizations that researchers are actually starting to interpret as greeting calls. And the absolute best part? This happens within 30 minutes of your arrival, often long before you even refill the food. The trigger isn't the seed, guys. The trigger is your return.
Let's wrap this up with part 6, why the file stays open.
Long-lived backyard birds like corvids, chickadees, and cardinals can retain memories of a specific human for years. I mean, there are documented scientific cases of crows visiting properties long after the person who fed them has moved away or passed on. You see, the bird doesn't have the human concept of someone moving away. They simply experience the sudden absence. They only know that the familiar rhythm just stopped. This quote right here perfectly captures the reality of your backyard. The yard goes on without you, but the file stays open. They keep checking that branch. They keep checking your porch because that memory file doesn't just magically close on its own. By constantly checking, they are essentially keeping the door open for you, measuring every single shape against the one they remember.
So, here is a question to leave you with. The next time you come home from a trip, pay super close attention to who appears first in that very first hour. Because when you see that chickadee or cardinal rush to the window, you aren't just seeing random movement. You're seeing a living memory of you that stayed active the entire time you were gone. Which bird is going to find you first? Pay attention, and you'll see just how deeply the yard remembers you. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and definitely keep your eyes open the next time you step out onto your porch.